Hi and welcome back to the channel. At Express IT Tech Tips, I promised you I would review the Valve Steam Deck. So this year, of all the tech purchases I've made, this one has been by far my favourite. And I'm going to get into the reasons why. So the main reason I bought the Steam Deck was to give me that portable gaming experience. And don't get me wrong, the Nintendo Switch OLED or any other versions of the Nintendo Switch are good. However, obviously Nintendo does not have access to the game library, which Valve does. And let's be honest, this can go above and beyond just Steam games. There is the ability to stream cloud gaming, so anything from Xbox, your PlayStation. I've had PlayStation 5 working on this. I've had my Xbox cloud and streaming to this. They kind of differ on how you do it. You can install Windows if you don't like Steam OS, but certainly, I've got a Windows installation on a separate SD card, and I'll quite happily do an installation guide on how to do that. But I'll be honest, I've stuck with the Steam OS because although there are some quirks around game compatibility, most of them can be overcome by just, using some of the Proton experimental versions, which again, I'll do a separate video on. But the beauty of this is that basically when you boot it up, it's got a custom UI that is unique to the Steam OS that you can now download and install on desktops. So if you've got a smaller desktop like a Nook, you could absolutely go and do that. But what I wanted was a gaming device that when I left this room or any other room that I may have the ability to PC game in, I could go on and still continue and play my games. One of the key things is places like the bedroom. If you've got to spend a bit of time with your significant other, you can still game. I mean, that's brilliant, isn't it? That's kind of what we've all been trying to achieve. And don't get me wrong, Steam aren't the only player in this market. You can get stuff like the One X player, but however, the One X player kind of exceeds that, £1,000 plus limit. Obviously, you are getting more raw power, but then you've got a standard Windows device, and not something that I think Valve have executed unbelievably well with Steam OS. So stay tuned, and I'm going to go through a little bit about Steam OS, a little about why I love this product, and why I would recommend purchasing one. So I wanted to cover off the Steam Deck, and when you first load it up, this is the screen you will always be presented with, which kind of shows you your recent games. Obviously, if you've got one brand new, it'll either pull it directly from your Steam library, or it will kind of build this out as you go along. You can kind of see the games that I have been playing over the time, and you'll notice, yes, I do have a launcher for Final Fantasy 14, so I do have the option to play that. Some cloud gaming for Xbox, which I do have playtime on. It's kind of misreporting, and remote play again, similar. So it kind of shows you your recent or most likely new to your library. And that's just there. Now, pressing on the Steam key gives you access to the home, library, store, friends, media, downloads, settings, power, etc. We'll go into the library. You may have noticed that some of these have got these green ticks on them. Now that means that they're classed as what they call as great on deck or as passed all compatibility checks. So if I looked at a different one that hadn't, for example, there's Asterix and Obelix, you'll notice that there's a bit there that basically has gaming info, which has got a little asterisk against it. Let's see if I can get over to it, and this will tell you why it's not past compatibility. So it's saying that some functionality is not accessible when using the default controller configuration. Right, okay, easy solution to that. This game sometimes shows mouse, keyboard, or non-Steam Deck controller icons. Well, again, we could probably live with that. So the way around that functionality top problem would be to go to the controller settings and go into edit layout here, and what we can do, or go into here, sorry, we can go and grab community layouts. Now you'll see Slacker Artist here has made a really good controller support for the deck. So somebody, if they haven't already, would have probably made it. If not, you can go away and do it. And also, this guy here has also made one as well, albeit I can't read that language. But either way, you can kind of focus and mess around with the the different bits. Again, it's got this great on deck, so it will look at all of your library and basically pick through what works on the deck as standard. And again, don't always take this as gospel. You may have some challenges. You may have to mess around with different versions of Proton to get it to work properly. However, if you do experience problems, just reach out to the community of Valve or anything with Steam Deck related. You will find that there's a lot of people on there that are really helpful. I will drop in some links to some really useful sites to go to kind of get the optimal settings for your device. So you can kind of pick through them. You can see your installed games and your collections and non-Steam. So if you flick through to my collections, you will see some emulation stuff. So there is possible ways to emulate, as you can probably tell by various different settings. You've got my PS5 launcher, etc., which are in my favorites. So that's kind of where we are. If you go to the store, what they've done great at Valve is they've dropped in a new section called Great on Deck. So it kind of makes this decision easier when you kind of look. If you're going, I really want a game that's going to play really well on the Steam Deck, here's your opportunity. Just go and pick through some of these. I will probably pick up God of War when that drops in price. I'm currently, as you probably know, playing Ragnarok, but I would really like to actually play through that on the Steam Deck. Again, the problem with some of these, I own these on the PlayStation, so similar with Elden Ring on on the Xbox. So sometimes it makes those kind of decisions a little bit tough, but obviously if you look around with Steam, you can get keys, probably sometimes cheaper or around sales. If you go into friends and chat, you can see your online friends. So hi Virist, I know you're not working today, so that's good. And obviously bits in your media downloads and settings. Now in your settings you can play around with quite a lot, and I think it's really key and a good thing to have your battery percentage on there. Kind of helps a little bit. Now like I said, don't be concerned too much about how quickly my battery will drain or show it's going to drain. I am capturing this footage, which does, add on different, kind of prereqs to the actual power consumption from the device. And then going into system, you can do different bits, pull the updates, enable developer mode, that kind of thing. System update channel I'm in is beta. Now, you can go for preview if you're really brave and want the very latest and greatest. However, expect some bugs. Stable will obviously be the ones that they've gone through rigorous testing. I like to sit on the beta one, to be honest, because you tend to get the newer features as and when they've been tested, fairly well. So you don't get too. I've not had many bugs, to be honest, and normally if I do, they're usually related around the Proton, which you can fix with desktop mode. You go down, you find a lot more information about your device. I'm not going to flick through it too much. Similar with security, you can do bits on there about whether the lock screen appears, your internet notifications, so you can kind of set those in different ways. Display, now this will change if you're in docked mode, so this may look different if you're picking up a Steam Deck to everybody else's at the moment, because I am docked and certain features only become available then, but you've got the option to put the deck to sleep after certain activities, which I think there's a kind of good one to do. And you can add tints to your night mode as well, which and kind of schedule that. So if you think of that blue light bits, you can do various bits on there. Similar with audio, play around with settings. You can have different output devices. You can pair Bluetooth devices. Just be aware that may affect battery life. I don't think it does massively, but you do also have a 3.5mm jack, so you could just plug in a headset. Bluetooth, you probably noticed I've previously paired both one of my Xbox controllers and a Steam controller, so I've got both of those. And then you can set various different bits on there. You can test all your inputs and calibrate as well. Now, if you happen to swap out your joysticks for any reason, then there's the option to recalibrate from there. Keyboard, you'll notice I've got mine set as Spectrum, and I'll show you that in a short while. That is one of the Steam Store bought ones. It doesn't come as standard, but you can buy those with your points. It's one of the few things you can. So, it's well worth, if you've got loads of points and you're thinking of buying a Steam Deck, hold on to them, because you can buy some really nice looking keyboards. Again, friends and family, a little bit about that, whether you're going to show you online. Your downloads, set like different limits if you've got some limited bandwidth, and maybe you pay price per gig, that kind of thing. Whether you enable Steam Cloud, family sharing, I've got it turned on at the moment. Remote play, and I do have my paired to my main device, which is great because, you know, if I'm going to stream to it, I'm obviously using the capability of my network, but also the capability of my device. So it takes away some of those challenges on frames per second and various other bits that you know you're relying on the actual Steam Deck doing the legwork. You're going to have your end device do it, and obviously your capable network. Storage, you can see obviously where I have updated mine to 1 terabyte, and you will notice a bit in other that goes 203 gig. And that can be different things. Now, some of that can be shader cache that is installed as part of the game, and there are ways to clean that up, and I will do a video on how to do that. Or it could be other bits that I've got installed, like the emulation pieces and various other bits. So there can be a mixture on that. I would guarantee most of that on mine is most likely shader cache, because a lot of my other stuff is on there. So yeah, it's just something to bear in mind. There are ways to clean it up. I see this a lot on people that have got 64 gig models that kind of go, oh Christ, I've run out of space. So yeah, different ways to do it. Again, personalizing the home tab, so you can do different bits in there. And again, similar with the library, you can activate a product on Steam this way as well. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. Now, if I was going to load into a game, let's just pick on a couple that I play quite regularly, these two. So I'll go with Shadow of Mordor. Now, it's quite an old game, 2014 this came out. You'll notice it's coming up with whatever controller layout I decided to pick on. Now, I've not limited the frames per second at the moment on this, but you will notice at the top left-hand corner, there is my performance overlay. And I can change that. Using the 3 dots on the right-hand side, it brings up this screen. Now, normally it does pick up the performance one. And again, like I said, don't be worried about my projected battery life dropping so quickly. It's probably going to because of what I'm doing. I can change the level of performance overlay, and I can then get more information. So as you can see there, it pulls up more information about my battery, the VRAM, all the CPU cores, and if FSR is on, that kind of thing. So kind of gives us a little bit more information, and you can now see my projected battery life has kind of calmed down a little bit. I do use in-game profiles or per game profiles. It kind of works better this way. When you find the right settings, you want to set them per game. You can limit the TDP, and you know, if you're using a game that doesn't necessarily, you know, use that much, you can do that. You can change the GPU clock settings as well. Whether you want to mess with scaling filters and sharpness is totally up to you. You know, I will do later videos a little bit more on how to tinker with those kind of performance settings to gain optimal performance and battery life. But most of the time, I will have most of my games running at 45 frames per second. For this video, I'm not going to unlock anything. I'm just going to leave it at 60, just to kind of show you how it would look normally. So just pick up this game. I have completed this before, but again on the Xbox. But I got it on a really good, nice, humble bundle deal, where I think I paid, you know, very little amount for all of these games. So it wasn't a bad little pickup from my point. And you can see that, you know, obviously the current FPS. So I tend to leave very early on in a game. I tend to leave this performance layer 2 on, just because it gives me a bit of an overview of, you know, how the performance is impacting the Steam Deck's battery per second, you know, what current, like, you know, sort of frame drops am I getting, that kind of thing. So yeah, if we just beat these orcs up quickly. I realise he's got something, so I can walk around him. Remember how? That's that one. Not ready to tell me what he wants to know. Yeah, we just quickly finish off these guys. I think now normally they'll be joined. There we go. You know, but from a, you know, handheld performance point of view, you know, I really enjoy this. I don't think there's many challenges around, you know, how I'd use it. If I'm happy with it, that kind of thing, it just works really well. It's great for playing in bed or, you know, on a sofa. you know, if you've got to spend a bit of time with the family but you still want a game, you still can. This is what Steam Deck's designed to do. So that's that one. If I was going to show you, for example, Days Gone, which is a fairly newer title, I'll only just show you the brief, you know, sort of opening scenes, because anything with full motion video you kind of get. Now, the good thing is here as well, you'll notice there's an option to feedback. So if you don't believe that this is the experience, you can kind of find a feedback into Valve and they will update this based on reports. Obviously, if one person says it, they're not going to go off that. But, you know, the more people that kind of feedback into, you know, the kind of system and community, the better support we'll get in the future. So, yeah, just loading up Days Gone. And you will see some of the load times do take a while, depending on the, you know, the kind of quality of the game, size of the game, various other things. And I am loading this directly off the internal SSD, so this isn't loading off you know, a memory card. And memory cards, if you do buy them, you'll see a massive debate about the A1s and A2s. My view would always be is why limit yourself? So, you know, if you're going to get a memory card, go with the maximum you can afford. Don't be pushed by what the community tells you you should buy. Buy what you can afford. You know, you can probably live with, you know, the most impacts you'll ever get is on loading times and download times. Actually, when you're in a game, because it's random access, it's not too bad. It's just obviously the initial time it takes for games to pop up and load up. So all I'm going to do is just quickly kick off the opening scenes, just so you can see how this kind of looks. If we just go new game, I'm just doing normal because I'm really going to play into it. I've not actually ever played Days Gone, so hopefully somebody will recommend it and I might finish it. It's one of those ones I do own on the PlayStation as well, so I might be torn on where to play it. But I think, obviously, being a big Steam Deck advocate now, why wouldn't I play it on here? So bearing in mind this is full motion video, you can see the current frames per second. Now I have got this unlocked, I believe. Let me just double check. Yep. So, but it's only managing 30, you know, just north of 30 frames per second. Obviously now peaking up a little bit to 44. So you can kind of see the difference in when you've got a little bit more graphic fidelity going on. It will impact your frames per second. You know, if there's more going on, if the pixel and polygon count is higher, those kind of things. You can obviously see the draw on the battery as well is 26.1 watts, so it's a little bit higher. Now there are many accessories you can buy to help with this. Battery packs are certainly one, you know, and I might well look into that in the future myself. I do own some, you know, older ones that I've got from Belkin over the past few years. But they won't deliver enough to optimally, you know, recharge one of these. So I may well look at one of the Anchor products. I've got my eye on a particular one at the moment, which is north of £120, but would enable me to constantly charge the Steam Deck while I'm on the go. So things that you'd also think about with your mobile phone, you know, it's the same challenges. The more, you know, the more graphically fidelity, you know, wise the game or, you know, or the application you're trying to run, the more drain it's going to have in that battery. That's not a surprise. So, like I said, you will see my remaining time is down to 41 minutes. Like I said, it won't be that bad if I was just playing this directly on the Steam Deck, but I have got this output into a monitor as well. So, but there we are. That's the view of that. Now, the only other part I need to cover off is desktop mode. Now, the reason why desktop mode is brilliant is because you'll see me start to go into this and I'll have to cut to another video. But basically, desktop mode gives you the option to play around with settings that will enable more games to function. So out of the box, obviously, Steam released different Proton versions. Over time, anybody who's ever, you know, done any gaming on Linux before will know, you know, the differences that certain games work better with different Proton versions. Now, desktop mode enables you to go and get those different Proton versions and install them. I'll probably cover that and desktop mode on a separate video because it is a little bit more in depth what you can do on desktop mode. Desktop mode basically will give you a full desktop, albeit SteamOS Linux version, that you can use. Now, when you use that, there's different ways you can do it. You can use the on-screen bits. You could plug in a keyboard and mouse to make it work better. If you use it docked, obviously you can then, go and get yourself a wireless keyboard and mouse and kind of go through that. Now, when I do it, I normally use the USB-C hub I've got, which I can power, and it does deliver the power through, and then connecting the other devices and maybe an external monitor just to play around, because it makes some of the navigation a little bit easier. I'm not going to switch to desktop mode now, because I said the one thing further I was going to show you is the keyboard, which will be the last thing. And if I go to search and click on there, you'll notice my keyboard pops up. So that gives you that nice spectrum color. So yeah, that's the Steam Deck. I will say best purchase of 2022 by a long shot. I'm now going to look at the specs and the differences and why I would recommend only going for the 64 gig model. And I'll explain my reasons why. But yeah, that's kind of an overview of the Steam Deck and its features. So I promised you I was going to cover off the differences and why I would recommend the 64 gig model over going up to the 459, the 569 models. Now, obviously there's 110 variants on the 64 to 256, not a lot additional stuff, to be honest. And then the next jump is obviously 220 quid from a UK price point. And again, the difference there really is you're getting a little bit more extra storage and you're getting the anti-glare screen. And this is why I wouldn't recommend it. If you're quite capable of, taking apart devices, you're not scared to do this. This is why. So if we went to Amazon and just done a quick search on, a 2230 SSD 1TB, and bear in mind, Amazon will be inflated prices. And the reason these will be inflated is because of the Steam Deck. If you go to the likes of eBay, which I'll probably do in a minute, we might be able to find these cheaper, which we'll have a quick look. But looking at the 1TB, you can pick one up, and I paid similar price to this. You can pick one up for £185. So when you kind of look at the difference then between, the 64 gig model and the 512, well, if I pay 200 quid extra on top, roughly, let's say with shipping, I'm paying 549, but I'm now getting a 1TB device, not a 512. And I get what people are going to say. Yes, but you've not got the premium anti-glare etched screen. I agree. But how does that work when you put on a screen protector? A lot of the screen protectors you get will completely null and void the whole point of that anti-glare screen. Could you not just go and buy a screen protector with anti-glare technology? I'm sure there's some out there. Or could you go and change the screen yourself to the 512 model? And absolutely you can with iFixit. So what I'm getting at is I wouldn't recommend necessarily, unless you don't want to do it, unless you don't want to tinker, don't want to mess about, you just want it straight out of the box, I would personally always go for the 349, because you're going to get the best price point and value for money where you're happy to modify it yourself. Now, when I mean modify it yourself, there are different options. So, we might be looking at, say we're just looking at adding 256. A 256 itself can be got for these kind of prices. Ignore that because I don't know why that's popped in, but we can pick one up here for £30, 30 odd quid. We looked at a 512, for example, just to bring us in line with what Steam Deck offer. And you'll see people are deliberately now advertising that way. You can pick these up for around the 80 odd pound mark. But again, like I said, if we went on eBay, let's have a quick scoot out there. We'll go to ebay.co.uk because that's where I am, and we'll go 2230 SSD. We'll get all the different options here, and you can kind of see. So that's the one I particularly bought. Works an absolute treat. You'll notice a lot of them are listed for Surface Pro. If you see the word Steam Deck in there, it normally means people are cashing in on it. These probably were a lot cheaper before the Steam Deck come out. Hopefully you'll see more and more manufactured, but you can see the kind of prices for a 512. You can now pick them up. And that was quite well rated actually for the Steam Deck. 50 odd quid, 56 quid. And if you then reflect that back into here, if I then added 50 quid in to this, and let's say it's 60, took us to just over £409, for example. How much would it then cost me to go and get the screen? Right, okay, well, let's look at iFixit's website. Now, iFixit's website do sell the screens. And look, I can get it for $89.99. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a moderate difficulty, and it kind of goes through the steps. It says about 2 to 3 hours. There's a lot of steps on there, a lot of flags. It kind of goes through exactly how to do it. They kind of tear down that I done previously. If you're happy to do this, then why wouldn't you? You could get that same screen and everything else for a hell of a lot cheaper. And, for an extra, probably 50 quid, you can get 1 terabyte. And let's flip that back now. Can we get 2 terabytes? And I have seen people with 2 terabyte Steam Decks. Now, obviously, there's a massive inflation in price. You will see these cheaper, don't get me wrong. But, that's insane, to then suddenly give yourself 2 terabytes on the go. Massive, massive difference. So, yeah, coming back to my original element on this, why I would choose a 349. Well, if I've not made it obvious, if you're happy to do the legwork, the 349 one gives you the best value per performance going. However, out the box, it won't. If you're going to look for something out the box, what would I recommend? It's difficult then, isn't it? Because you're kind of looking at that difference. Now, I would probably still err on that one, because at least if you took that 256 one out, you could probably reuse it somewhere else. My 64 gig one's just sitting in a drawer somewhere. I probably will recommission it to do something at some point. But in reality, is it worth going that extra 110? Possibly not. Not just for that screen, and you're not gaining, with the prices I've shown you, from a storage point of view, you're not gaining up. I think the biggest thing probably would be is the exclusive carrying case. Is it a big enough thing, though, to make that change? You decide. You let me know. Hopefully, this video has made you decide to buy the Steam Deck, because if not, then I've absolutely not done my job properly. It is by far the best portable gaming device I think I've ever laid my hands on. I've owned pretty much all of them over the years. This will potentially revolutionize, gaming on Linux devices. I'm already starting to look at ways I can basically stick Steam OS on desktops and various other things because of this, because of the ease of use for somebody who's not computer literate on how to do the best settings, to just drive off and run with a game straight away. It kind of gives a little bit more of a, dare I say the word, a gaming console feel to something that's a little bit more in depth. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of in-depth stuff you can do with this. There's a lot of learning early on. There's some great community information out there. But wow, this is the must-have accessory, I would say, for 2022 and also 2023. I wanted to close with a couple of other bits, just to cover off the case you get. So again, I bought 64 gig model. I don't have the premium version. I've kind of seen what the premium version looks like, but fundamentally, this is what you get. And to be honest, it's really sturdy. You've got a bit there that you can stick through your luggage, and I've seen some useful ways of people using them. Again, inside, it's just quite, nice and velvety, various other things. I know the next model up has a nicer feel to it, but that's a free perk as far as I'm concerned, because I would have happily paid $349 for the device alone. But I wanted to end as well with a bit of a teaser for what I would say is the ultimate accessory for the Steam Deck. Now, people will tell you a dock is, but the whole idea is this to be portable. The best accessory, I believe, are these. Now, if you don't know what these are the Nreal glasses. I've only had these a short while. These are absolutely fun. So what these will give you is a very large screen in front of your eyes. So basically, they connect via USB, and it is USB-C, so it works straight off the bat. Plug these on. So I can't see because I've got the filter on. And you've got 2 large OLED screens in front of you, which then project into one in your peripheral vision. And I will do a separate review on these because these have been absolutely game changing. If you think about one of the use cases I said about when you're in bed, you want to do a bit of gaming, but you're trying to keep the other half happy, for example, you can still game, use these, and game to your heart's content without disturbing them. So, and they do work for prescription lenses as well, which, if you do happen to have that, challenge, then you can kind of navigate around that as well. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Would you buy a Steam Deck after watching this? Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe. I've just passed 1,000 views on YouTube. Subscriber count's slowly going up. You'll probably notice the quality of the video should hopefully be getting better as well, because I'm starting to use a little bit more expensive equipment. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on the Steam Deck, and also what you'd like to see on the Steam Deck as well, because I've tinkered and played around a lot myself. I'm really keen to know what you'd like to learn about it. I can go into in-depth bits about the configuration and various other bits that I've done. I will follow up with some other videos in the coming weeks. But yeah, thank you very much.